First of all, give yourself a big cheer for coming out in the rain. Closing the £27 million Women's and Children's Unit opened 2 years ago simply does not make sense. Closing an A&E in a town which is growing all of the time, not just in terms of population, but in terms of business and industry, simply does not make sense. The arguments used in the 1980s to get Telford Hospital are no less powerful than the arguments that we make today. And it does not make sense either that in a county the size of Shropshire does not require 2 A&Es. It simply does not make sense. And we must not fall into the Shrewsbury versus Telford, Telford versus Shrewsbury argument. Jeremy Hunt, the Health Secretary, is in Birmingham next week, and I've called on both MPs, the MP for Telford, Lucy Allen, and the MP for the Wrekin, Mark Pritchard, to arrange an immediate meeting with Jeremy Hunt so that he can immediately intervene into this situation. The whole process does not make sense, and we must come together as a community right across the county, right across Mid Wales, to make the case for fairer and more funding for our NHS services. And I will be very clear, as will all councillors on Telford and Wrekin Council, that if Jeremy Hunt does not intervene, then we will take immediate legal action to stop this process from happening. Yeah! But it makes no sense. It makes no sense for one public authority that has already had its budget cut by tens of millions of pounds to take on another public authority through the courts. And that's why health bosses must stop this madness now. So let's call upon both our MPs, let's call on the government, let's call upon all those who care about our town, our borough, our county, to intervene and stop this madness. Thank you very much, everybody.
The area covered by our 2 hospitals is over 2,000 square miles. You know what? That's the size of 19 Birminghams or 3.3 Greater Londons. They think they can get away with 1 A&E for an area 19 times the size of Birmingham. Forget it. That's a recipe for people dying, and that is completely unacceptable to all of us. And the loss of the Lincoln Davis Cancer Centre in Shrewsbury that would leave people travelling for hours for radiotherapy or chemotherapy, that too is utterly unacceptable, and we will fight it. The closure of the Women's and Children's Centre here in Wellington is unacceptable, and we will fight it.
Anyone who has children knows that time and distance when your children are seriously ill is the difference between life and death. And that's true whether you live in Shrewsbury, Telford or Powys. So of course Shrewsbury A&E needs to stay, but so does Telford. And if either closed, there would be absolutely no winners. We'd all be losers.
If you've had a stroke, if you've had a heart attack, if your child has got meningococcal meningitis and is septic, that time that it takes to get to hospital becomes increasingly crucial. If you're injured in a car accident and you're bleeding out, the time that it takes you to get medical care becomes increasingly crucial. So we must fight and fight and fight to maintain the A&E department and the Women and Children's Unit here in Telford, and work with Shrewsbury with 2 A&E departments for our county.
Everybody's got a story to tell about how the family, the child, the older relative benefited from the National Health Service. We've got to keep it. We have to fight it.
We're going to go out there. We're going to fight for this. Shrewsbury's just as important as Telford, but Telford's just as important as Shrewsbury. So let's get out there and fight for both our A&E on both sides.